Podcasting live at the time we recorded it. From the studios in downtown Gulfport, Florida, it's WGAB, the Gabcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to WGAB, the Gabcast. I am the publisher and editor-in-chief of the Gabber, Kathy Celestri Loper, with our news and politics reporter, Pat Heinzen. How you doing, Pat?
I'm doing good.
Really?
I'm winding down.
Okay. So you'll notice it's a little bit different format. Usually our assistant editor leads off, but and also usually we don't have wine. But it has been, can I say, a wild week? I just said it. It's been a wild
week is a little
understated.
Diminishing. I mean, a wild since what was the December 15th? That was the.
I think what we're trying to say is this election has been bad. I moved to Gulfport for the first time in 2003. Started work at the Gabber in 2003. Have covered many elections, and I think I can say with my whole heart, this is the absolute worst one I've ever seen. I am so grateful. We just put the last print edition to bed that will come out before the elections. Next week is election night, and I cannot get this election over fast enough. Couple things happened this week. Can I tell?
Go for it.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
So, Patrick, last Wednesday, I get a phone call. Paper's done. I get a phone call from Patrick, and he says, I need to talk to you. And my default when somebody says, we need to talk, is you're dumping me or something else really bad. And since Patrick and I are not dating, I knew it wasn't the first one. And I was thinking, oh, God, he's going to move back to Chicago. He's quitting. He's in jail. That last one actually would have been preferable. Not for you, but for me.
Yeah.
And basically what had happened was we have this race in Gulfport. April Thanos is the incumbent for Ward 1. Tom Bixler is challenging her. And Tom Bixler's campaign manager had called Patrick, and I don't know what the word is. He brought up the idea of the campaign paying us for certain coverage. Mm-hmm. And I can't put too fine a point on this. That's not okay. Ever. So it's been a bad week. Patrick, why don't you take it from here? And cheers.
Yeah, so to kind of give some context to that, let me just... that was a great sound.
It's a good sound.
Thank you to the Wine House down here in Gulfport.
Don't thank them. We paid for it.
To give some context to that, I was talking with Tom Bixler's campaign manager. Him and I have had pretty constant communication for the whole campaign. Most of it has been him calling me or him reaching out to me about issues. And that's kind of been what he considers his job as a campaign manager, is to continually talk to me and keep me updated on information, try and learn more about the city because he lives in Michigan, and learn more about, I believe he has a Florida phone number, so I know that, but he's up there in Michigan right now, and he just wants to learn more about what's been going on. So him and I have had some pretty constant communication, but when, as Kathy was saying, we were on the phone, and he said, I'm not going to tell you who, but somebody said I should pay you $100 to write an article about and then he got into it, but the article was about a comment that was made at a city council meeting that was insinuating that Tom Bixler is racist based on a comment that he made at the Gulfport Candidate Forum about the sanitation workers. The person who gave the comment didn't directly say Tom Bixler by name, but they said, if you watch the Gulfport Candidate Forum, you'll know who said it. So that was where that came, and then Bixler's campaign manager, Alex, he ended up telling me, I'm not going to do that because I respect your journalistic integrity too much. And he went on to say that, and then he clarified that he was not intending it to, he said, I hope that, I didn't mean to imply a bribe. I just wanted to say that that's what something said to compliment your integrity. So that's where that all came about.
Can I stop you?
Yeah, of course.
So a couple of things that I don't want us to get too mired in this about he didn't offer it, because there's never a situation. And if you read the publisher's note this week in the Gabber, because I had to write one, we had to do a whole thing. The point that you've mentioned, that is a problem. Like, don't ever say to a journalist, oh, I could pay you, but I won't. Because that's kind of a tell me you're trying to bribe me without telling me you're trying to bribe me type of thing. And now what we have happening is Patrick is feeling a little uncomfortable, what just happened, which is why he called me immediately and said, hey, this happened. I don't know if I think you were I don't know if I'm reading this the right way, but it made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you.
And thank you.
That it happened because I didn't know. I've never experienced anything like this. And Sebastian, the reporter who wrote up this article that will be going further into this, he also was like, I've never written anything like this. I have no clue what's going on. But along with kind of what you were saying about don't talk about that to a journalist, I think another thing that kind of in the same vein, never say it to a journalist is, can this be off the record?
No,
Because
you don't get to say that.
That's also come up about
journalist gets to say,
Yeah.
You know what, we'll talk on background. I won't put this on the record. You don't get to blurt something out and then go, but that's off the record. You are talking to a journalist. Patrick is a journalist. If you're talking to him, it is on the record. Until the minute he says, this is off the record, it is on the record. And we're very careful about that because the code of ethics for journalists is pretty clear on when it is okay to put somebody off the record. And usually it's things like it could cause them physical harm. They could, something really bad would happen. People thinking that you're campaigning for someone when you said you aren't is not a good enough reason to go off the record. You violating your own code of ethics for your industry is not a good enough reason for us to tell you can go off the record. You saying, I'm going to tell you about this mafia boss who's going to kill me, that's a reason to go off the record.
Yeah.
To my knowledge,
no mafia boss.
Well, something to look forward to for next year's election.
But when it gets down to it, it's just the thing of it all is when it comes down to the issue of like speaking with Tom's campaign manager or something being off the record or anything like that, it comes down to it's not our job to pass judgment on that, or if something's off the record, it's not our job to protect that. Or if you come in and you say, hey, I don't know if I should be telling you this, and then say something to me or to any of the other journalists, it's not our job to protect that. It's our job to present facts to the readers. And as a journalist, that's one of the only things that's the biggest thing we can do is report on truth and fact and continue to provide people with truth. That's the reason I got into journalism.
This is what happened. You draw your own conclusions. Now, I am not saying whether I think Tom Bixler is a racist, because honestly, I don't know. I haven't had that experience, and also in my experience as a white woman, I'm not going to know you're a racist until you really, really work to show me. I have no clue. We're not talking about that. What I will get passionate about and what I will take a stand about is that this newspaper is an actual newspaper, and we don't operate that way. And what really did upset me is by putting you in that position now, we basically have to yank you off the whole story. And we have to pay somebody else because you're on staff, but we don't have anybody else on staff who can cover that. So we brought in Sebastian Gonzalez de Leon, who runs San Pedro Gazette and has been doing some coverage for us. And we said, hey, can you help? And then to further remove you from the situation, instead of just having Sebastian interview you, what we had to do is we had Patrick swear out an affidavit. This is what happened on this date. This is what happened on this date. It's all available at thegabber.com. If you read the story, we'll have it all there. You can read the whole affidavit because that's what Sebastian used to write the story. We had a lawyer look at the affidavit. We had it notarized. What it does is it removes the element of he said, she said. Although when Sebastian called Alex, the campaign manager, he agreed to be recorded, and he confirmed. He said, yeah, I did, but he didn't actually offer it to him, so it's not a bribe. And I don't think he understands, that's how bribes are offered. I mean, it's not that simple.
He did clarify over and over again that it was meant to just be a compliment to me and that he knows that I wouldn't do that.
See, but that's like when you and Cam try and high five when you do a good job for something you're getting paid to do anyway. Telling a journalist, hey, you're not sleazy is not a compliment. Because that's basic. It's like, hey, Patrick, you stood up today without help. Good job. I mean, that's your job. It's your job as a journalist not to be sleazy.
Yeah.
So, yes. Anyway, that's been our week. And then there's more.
Yeah, there's so much more.
So much more in the issue this week. Which one do you want to talk about first?
I think we should bring Topher on here.
Oh, so we're going to do something nice and easy.
Well, the rest of this is going to be pretty easy, isn't it? We got Topher. We're going to talk about.
Oh, I thought you meant more about the campaign. No, we're not.
We could talk about. I mean, kind of tied into that issue. One of the main reasons why I've been talking with Alex so much was postcards.
But her postcards.
If you live in Gulfport, there's a very good chance you've gotten a postcard from the April Thanos campaign. Well, not from her campaign. That's in support of April Thanos. It is not from the April Thanos campaign. Thanos, sorry. And that became an issue with Tom's campaign manager, Alex, because these postcards were being sent from people with no last name, all across the country, listing April as a Democrat, and people were getting over 5 of them sent to their house in a very, very short span. So it became an issue, and one of the issues that came up was it's not disclaimed. There's nothing on expenditure reports.
Political.
Yeah, nothing on expenditure reports. There's the issue with what involvement did April have in this overall, and the answer that we've been kind of drawn to, or that we've found, is April's campaign, or one of April's supporters reached out to a group of volunteers, a national group that does a lot of this political campaign writing, where they'll send out postcards for campaigns. And it's organized by an independent group of volunteers. It's not a political action committee or anything. And they were the ones that sent it out. And originally it was only supposed to be about 3,000 for the whole city, but it became significantly more.
3,000 per address.
It became significantly more. And one of the issues that Tom's campaign manager had with these postcards is reporting them, it being reported on expenditure reports, and also if it's a political action committee, that needs to be reported as well. But it isn't a political action committee; it's a group of volunteers. So one of the things that April said about it was anybody can write a postcard to anybody. Yeah.
So I want to point out 8 years ago, 8 years. It's been 8 years since Donald J. Trump was first elected.
Wow.
And a big thing, because I was at another newspaper. Then I had left the Gabber, and I was at another newspaper, and we were constantly getting events for our events listing of postcard writing campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
And people would get together and send postcards, much like the ones we've received. Hey, don't vote for this don't vote for this person, don't do that and that. So, I mean, it didn't surprise me that April didn't know about it. I mean, yeah. I can't prove whether she did or didn't. I know that she says she didn't know about it when it started.
Mm-hmm. I've spoken with a lot of people, because whenever something goes on with one of the candidates and then a community member comes to us about it, and I speak with them and we don't write something about it. Let's say people are probably going to know about, we received some, people have talked to us about Tom Bixler's RV. And one of the things that people have said to me a couple times is, you're just going to take their word for it? And to an extent, yes, because
we are not the New York Times. I mean, the entirety of our newsroom is you and I, Cameron over there, and Sebastian right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're doing, I think, a hell of a job. There's not a research department.
We look into everything. We research everything to our fullest. We make phone calls. We look online for whatever we can find. We talk to everybody involved. But there's only so much that we can find without having a private investigator to follow everybody and figures this stuff out.
And that's okay. I mean, if somebody's RV isn't legally registered somewhere, is that really a reason to elect them or not elect them? If somebody sent a postcard without the right verbiage on it, is that a reason to elect them or not elect them? I mean, there's that quote, journalists don't tell people what to think, they tell people what to think about. And I think with this campaign, it has been a constant assault from both sides that we had to very carefully pick and choose, what are we going to focus on and tell people to think about? Mm-hmm. And with a bigger newsroom, we might have covered everything. We might not have. I don't know. I think some of the things that were brought to us were definitely,
and everything that I think that almost everything that has been brought to us, we've done our best to cover, because as a news and politics reporter, this is the biggest thing I do, and I started full-time here on December 15th, and I believe December 15th was the end of the qualifying period. So my whole full-time job here, I've been covering elections.
Been a great 90 days for you, hasn't it?
Everything that has to do with the elections has been my biggest. The most amount of emails, phone calls, texts I get has been from election stuff. And I think that it kind of gets lost in the way that we have. This week is going to be our longest paper because we had to boost it, but we have a pretty small amount of paper to print.
We usually have 32 pages. This week we went to 40.
And 32 pages means about 19 pages of copy. We have ads and all that kind of stuff. So that ties into arts coverage and food coverage and all that kind of stuff that we still do, because there's only so much we can write about elections. And this week we had planned 2 weeks ago, and we had next week planned 2 weeks ago, because we knew all of this stuff that was about to happen is filling up our paper for the next 2 weeks.
It's going to be so boring for you next week.
Anyway. I don't think the election will solve all of the issues coming up with this campaign.
Oddly. Well, you've done a hell of a job. And I hope if you're watching this, you know a little bit better about where we stand ethically as a newspaper. Clearly, this is something I feel very passionately about. I encourage you, if you're watching this, thegabber.com. We're going to have all the coverage there. There's more. There was an article about postcards. There was an article about a falsified image that was going around. There was an article about it's just
the campaign
the campaign ads. Like, just this election keeps vomiting forth content, and you can read it all at thegabber.com. But right now, we're going to move on to something lighter, happier.
Yeah, unfortunately for our constant viewers, we don't have Kathy with a cop this week. I know we're all heartbroken about it too.
But we do have Topher with a tree.
We do have Topher with. She doesn't have a tree, but
she is.
She is a tree.
Intimate with trees.
Well, that's a way to put it.
So we're gonna bring Topher on. We're gonna let y'all eat some arepas so you can talk about it for the next segment. Mm-hmm. Thank you all. Patrick, thank you. I'm going to step away and let Cam step in, and she's going to take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you, Kathy.
The Gabber Newspaper? Yeah, we go there.
Welcome back to WGAB, the Gabcast, a Gabber Newspaper production. I'm Cameron. I'm the assistant editor of the Gabber Newspaper, and I'm still with...
I'm Patrick, still a news and politics reporter with a little bit less wine than last time you saw me. But we are sitting here with the city's horticulturist, Topher Ross.
That's me. I'm Topher Ross.
Hi, Topher. So we had this week a survival guide to this season. I know everybody's been seeing all the yellow all over the place. So Topher gave a little guide on how to tolerate the oak trees and their rights.
Right? It's what it is. It's causing everyone their agony are the actual flowers of the oak tree, which are called catkin. I love that word. But
I like your little meow at the end of your article.
And as they fall from the tree, they spread their pollen. The oak trees are known for airborne spreading of their pollen as opposed to an insect. Bees specifically taking it from place to place. But as a result, they spread a lot of it. And that's the thing that makes all your outdoor tables, your car, your vents, the grills, everything becomes this sort of green-yellow color.
I wanted to get a car wash, but I know that it's going to just come right back.
You do it once, and it's going to come back the next day. Not even. It's going to be like a couple hours.
I did it. I had to do it this weekend. It had fallen so thick I could not see the windshield of the truck.
Do you know how long that this lasts for? Is it like a couple months or?
Oh no, it's the whole season of the oaks dropping their leaves, which is one thing, and then coming and forming their catkins, their flowers, and then dispersing their pollen and then dropping the catkins, usually wraps up in about a month.
Oh, okay.
And we have
We're fine.
2 species of oak that are prevalent in the Gulfport and Tampa Bay area, which are the laurel oak and the live oak.
Yep.
And the laurel oaks do their thing first. So thank goodness they're pretty much done. And then the live oaks are right behind them. And then it's subspecies contingent. In other words, who their parents were, what kind of an acorn they were hatched from.
Interesting.
So fortunately, other than the mess you have to rake up, because the catkins are very fluffy and they blow everywhere, getting that up and trying to take care of yourself while you're doing it is pretty easy.
So that's what you talked about in your survival guide, was that there was these issues. So I had that there was lots of runny nose, sneezing, and coughing, and a lot of itchiness,
Yeah, the normal
even
stuff.
nausea, we were saying, and then just how to go about that with like pollen on your cars, like we were saying, in your clothes. How would you like to explain to everybody what to do with all
Well,
that?
the important thing to remember is in rare cases, it can really affect people. And if you're a person that's prone to severe hay fever or airborne allergies, if you're an asthmatic or you have COPD, you want to tread lightly and carefully and not put things off. But for most folk, what it does is trigger an immune response, which is what allergies are.
Yeah.
And that's where the runny eyes and runny nose and sneezing comes in. And by the same token, it can cause people, because you literally get coated in this stuff. If you're like me and you're outdoors, you might not be able to see it, but I know I'm pretty well coated by the end of the day. But you really have to be mindful, and you can take nothing. You can take an over-the-counter antihistamine. They make enough of them now that are non-drowsy. So don't take a drowsy one and go to work or drive.
Oh, brother.
But that'll really help you with your seasonal reaction to it or any sort of skin issues you're having.
Yeah, of course.
The second thing, and I mentioned in the article, that bothers me, which is nausea and loss of appetite as a result of the nausea. And for years, I didn't know what was going on. I just had no idea why I would feel so sick at a particular time of year, but it's from inhaling it.
Wow.
It's inevitable that you're swallowing a lot of it. If you're a mouth breather, you're outside working out or working period outdoors, you're going to swallow X amount of it, which makes you ill. And really the only thing I've found that helps me is to drink a lot of plain water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just flush it out of your stomach and then out of your system. But there's plenty of it to go around.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that. I can't remember ever being like too susceptible to pollen allergies. I know that sometimes I'd get sniffly.
Right.
That mainly happened like the winter. I when it comes around to spring and there's a lot of pollen everywhere, it never really seemed to bother me. But my girlfriend has terrible allergies to everything, everything. And she's getting like allergy therapy with shots. But it's one of those things where it's like, it's not like you're sick, you know, like you can't really cure it. It's your body like responding to a stimuli. But it's I don't know. I've always been so confused about, like, not confused. I know why allergies happen and stuff like that, but the nausea or runny eyes and stuff. It's where is the correlation between those things, and how is it like caused by pollen. That might sound stupid. I'm
No,
not
it's a
explaining
great
myself perfectly because I
question.
know
It's like, how does
I
that?
understand it.
question.
It's
2
just
plus 2 equals what?
And
Like
again,
how?
I'm not practicing medicine without a license.
not a
I've been
doctor.
accused of that
Oh,
often, but
You're not doing
gardeners
that.
were always sharing ways to,
just
not
ideas.
sniffle and not scratch.
growing
and
up, it was
not
always
break
like
out.
it was always like I was always told just like suck it up.
Yeah.
Like it's allergy.
I would
Everybody
get-
gets
most of
I
us
would get
do.
yelled at for sniffling instead of asking, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
So it's like, okay,
Most of
like
us do suck it up, but there's still for some people that trip between your car and the grocery store. Maybe you live a life where you go from your breezeway into a covered garage,
Yeah.
But for the most part, there's going to be a spot where you
Yeah.
go out and this foreign entity enters your body, which we have not developed the capacity to process
Yeah.
it as food like we do sunflowers and it's an irritant, and I
Yeah.
forget what the things are in our body that say danger, danger, let's get this thing out of here.
Yeah.
But it triggers that response, which is an immune response,
Yeah.
and that's when the runny nose goes into action. That's when the eye, in much the same way you're drinking water to get it out of your GI system, your eyes are running, your nose is running to get it out of
Yeah.
you. And again, someone like your girlfriend, that is a situation where you need to be medically aware.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean if you have the sniffles every year that you should run out and cut your oak tree down. Because odds are your neighbor has an oak, and
Yeah.
you're not going to do anyone any good doing that. But it's my strong advice. If you know you suffer from that sort of an immune issue, don't buy a house with an oak tree on the property. Please leave it there and go look at another
Yeah.
house because it's not the perfect spot for
No.
you.
She has asthma, so there's an issue.
And
then
there's
also,
an issue.
one of the things she's most allergic to is cats and dogs.
Oh, yeah.
And she's a vet tech.
Oh, great.
So
She's a
it,
glutton
All of it
for
going together.
punishment.
so she knew what she was signing up
brave.
for, but still, it's bad.
Very brave.
So
But-
with like the trees and stuff, what was that thing that you were wondering about?
So yeah, I kind of very separate from this. But I remember at one of the recent city council meetings, somebody was talking about lethal bronzing disease with palm trees.
Yes.
And I
Yep.
was interested in that because I grew up in northern Illinois, and we had emerald ash borers that came through and obliterated the population of trees up there. And that was terrible. And coming down here and somebody talking about a disease transferred by bugs to trees that is invariably lethal and terrible. And I didn't know about that, but it's happening here, and I wanted to see what you knew about that.
Wow, it's a real bummer too, because I have to say around 30 years ago we introduced a type of a date palm. Anytime you hear the scientific name that begins with phoenix, you know you're talking about a date palm. And we introduced a type of a date palm and just put them in use everywhere. It was a little bit odd to me because they look more like a palm that you would see in the Middle East than something you'd see in Florida. But they were just used absolutely everywhere under the belief that they could survive drought and survive almost anything and make dates. And then to have this invasion of a bacteria is what it is that's transferred from palm to palm by an insect. It can't be done with pruning, shears, or any of the things that transfer other blight. And we had one of our trees at Trolley Market be affected by it,
wow.
and we had to have it removed.
Dang.
And even though scientists are always working on more resistant strains, it's a bummer and it's expensive to treat.
Yeah, definitely.
But we've had our fair share in Florida of plenty of things that take out whole populations, like the coconut palms. That South Florida in particular, it was ubiquitous in the 50s and 60s. And another type of a bacterium called lethal yellowing came in and took all them out. So all the coconuts you see today are of a slightly different cultivar that are resistant to lethal yellowing. But scary enough, lethal bronzing is affecting some of our older queen palms and some of our state tree, the sable palm, which is really scary.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
not a lot can get to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Well, dang.
thank you so much, Topher. I just had, so, has the, this is separate as well, but has the, sorry. Have you all done the tree giveaway this month or no?
Oh, that's a great question. We have one coming up this Saturday
This
morning,
Saturday? Wow, okay,
actually. We're
awesome.
doing them every
Nice.
month, the third
Yes.
Saturday of the month, up until this upcoming, including this upcoming November. And this month's tree is going to be the green buttonwood tree.
Oh, yeah. Y'all gave those out at
which
the first
is-
one, correct?
We gave out some green buttonwoods.
remember that.
We actually planted one,
Yes.
but mainly what we gave out were the densipines.
Yes.
But the green buttonwood, for those of you anywhere in our area that live on or near the water, or now you're prone to the flooding with salt water, this is a tree that can withstand salt water and sitting in it. It's actually part of the mangrove forest system, but it's not one of the mangroves that is protected in pruning
wow, okay.
practices. Those are the other three. But yeah, commonly the mangroves forest in Florida consists of the red mangrove, those are the prop roots, and the black mangrove, those are the pencils, and the white mangrove, which is just sort of hangs out. And then the buttonwood, which has a thinner leaf. And historically, us old Florida crackers use the wood. We have a cracker in town. I take them all of the smaller branches I cut, but they're used in a smoker. Like out west, people would use mesquite. We use buttonwood.
Huh. That's really interesting. Where can people go to get a tree?
So they come to the Gulfport Neighborhood Center, 1617 49th Street North. This Saturday, the 16th, between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m.
Awesome. That sounds great. Well, thank you so much for being here with us, Topher. I really appreciate it, and I hope you you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Cameron.
You're welcome. We will be right back with Kathy to talk about some arepas.
Hell yeah.
Super yummy.
Yum.
Find all your Gulfport and Tampa Bay Beaches news and things to do at thegabber.com.
Welcome back to WGAB, the Gabcast. We are eating
Empanadas.
One chick, one bro, cafe bistro, right? Or bistro cafe.
Oh my God.
Bistro Cafe.
I don't know. I don't care. It's so good.
She had an empanada, and then we were eating arepas.
Arepas. We were eating, I don't know what they're called, but they're little fried cheese sticks.
Yeah, they kind of
were
were like,
delicious.
yeah, they were so good.
Yeah.
I had some.
Out there, I haven't been, but this was the first time I ate it, and both of you know I've been asking for arepas for the last week. I've just been
Kind of been a little annoying, but you've had a
I'm
week.
sure it's just so for those who don't know, arepas are a cornmeal based sandwich. They're cooked flat, and then you cut open the middle. You put meat, cheese,
Tofu.
veggies, tofu,
Chickpeas.
whatever you want in there. It's mainly eaten in South and Central America, but especially in Venezuela and Colombia.
And
And
Gulfport.
where I first had him is one of my good buddies. His name is Benno. Shout out Benno. He's Colombian, and his mom would we would wake up for breakfast, and his mom would make us arepas and with pork and cheese, and they were just the best. It's simple. It's just a cornmeal.
It's so crunch.
It's just a cornmeal
Ooh,
sandwich
yum.
with pork and cheese. They're gluten free. You can eat them for any meal. And we had the mini ones, but they make them big over there. I'm probably, after this is done, I'm probably going to go pick some up for myself. Although I already had 3, I'm probably going to have another 3 little ones.
Why not? They were only the mini ones, so.
But they don't just serve arepas there. They have everything from empanadas to they make bowls, and they have breakfast specialties. So they have a Venezuelan breakfast where they do, I believe it has like beans and plantains and stuff. And then they do a classic American breakfast. They do desserts like tres leches. And so much
I could get down with that.
different food, mainly, I believe they're Venezuelan. So it's Venezuelan influence, but arepas are gluten-free, which is interesting, and it's just...
And
Up
so are these
Kathy's
empanadas,
alley.
These
apparently.
empanadas are also gluten-free. Overall, it's just... I'm over the moon that there's a good...
Yes.
There's a good Hispanic restaurant that isn't just like the same Mexican restaurant, you know?
Yeah.
Out here in Gulfport,
feels-
because
Do you feel like it would be like authentic? Is that what you mean?
that tastes. I mean, the only arepas I've had were made in Illinois by a Colombian person, but
Yeah.
that tastes just like that, and they're delicious. I know they use Venezuelan cheese,
Yum.
and they have different choices on the way that chicken can be made.
And also, I believe they are Venezuelan.
Yes, they're Venezuelan.
So I think
Yes,
we have to
it's-
just believe them at this
to
point.
I can't say I've had a truly authentic empanada because I've never been to a place and gotten an empanada from Colombia or Venezuela. My understanding is these are authentic empanadas.
I mean, sometimes when people open, Hispanic or Mexican restaurants, they water it down because it's America. And I just didn't know.
No, I
didn't know.
I love Chipotle, but I'm not going to sit here
Chipotle
and say
is
Chipotle is
not-
Mexican.
yeah.
Chipotle is not Mexican food.
No, it's not.
As a very
So-
white woman, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Chipotle is not true Mexican.
No, it's not.
No, that's
I love
exactly what we're saying. I agree.
I eat too much Chipotle. I eat way too much Chipotle. I love Chipotle, but I'm not out here saying it's Mexican food.
I'm
No.
going to say, had you taken the bribe, you could have gotten a little more Chipotle.
Oh, brother.
I just like to bring it full circle.
Yeah, you're
Full
right.
circle. But
And scene. That was great.
Brother.
No?
Anyways.
Are we not done? Sorry.
anyways, One
No.
Chick, One Bro, a new
So
restaurant out here it's on 49th Street South.
And Newton.
And Newton.
Yeah, it's between 14th and 15th Avenue South.
I couldn't find it this morning, so that'll help me. Yeah, so thank you to One Chick, One Bro for the arepas. We paid for them, but still thank you.
Just thank you for being there and
And-
making them. I think.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
so good.
Since it's kind of on my way in, I wouldn't be surprised if I come in pretty often with some arepas in the morning.
Some arepas
Yummy,
breakfast.
yummy.
Yeah, they're
And then
great for
leave for
breakfast.
some arepas dinner.
They're not even that expensive either.
No, they're super cheap
Yeah,
for what they
for-
get. I mean, they're actually delicious.
Yeah, they're delicious. It's a big meal, and I believe the arepas, like the standard arepas, are like $13, $12.95, and that's a pretty good price for what you're getting out of a big sandwich with a packed full of good meat and good food. And I'm very excited that it's here, and I'm very excited that this week is over.
Yay.
And
Yay, high five.
high five.
High five.
Yay.
Thanks.
And
Oh.
God, can this week be done?
All
We're
right,
just
well,
done. I
we're
just-
done.
Yeah, we're
All
done.
right, guys.
Thank you so much for listening to WGAB, the Gabcast, a Gabber Newspaper production. We'll be back next week on Election Day.
Election night.
Yay. Okay, bye.
Bye.